I need my coffee, hold on. Are you too close? Is this good? I don't know. Hi, I'm Kim with Rodgers' Daughter Reads. October was a remarkable reading month, and I am here to tell you about the 8 books I read in October.
Oh my gosh.
I just got home from a long day at work and visiting a friend at a rehabilitation center. So this is my first coffee since my morning cup, and I really needed it. October was a truly remarkable reading month. It was remarkable in quite a few ways. For one, the hockey season has started. Go Canucks, go Kraken. And also the Mariners got farther than they've ever gotten, right? Which is really important for us as a family because my mother-in-law was super into the Mariners, lifelong fan. And okay, well, anyway, that has affected my reading this month. However, I still read 8 books. This is not the first book I read in October, but it was the one. It was a 5-star. I've got a few 5 stars this month. I was reading 3 books when I started this book, and they just fell away by the wayside. And that is Dating After the End of the World by Geneva Rose. So this was an Amazon First Reads, which typically are misses for me. This one hooked me from the first few pages. The description hooked me, and I knew I'm not skipping on this. I'm not waiting on this. It's happening.
I got stolen by the
That was my Amazon First Reads. I read that on Kindle. I read it while we were driving to Maine for our vacation. This book is about Casey Pearson. Casey Pearson is a doctor in her first residency. Maybe you only have the one, I don't know, but she's in her residency, and the attending doctor that's kind of over her is also, or one of them, is also her fiance. So she's got this wonderful life in Chicago. Everything's going really well until the zombie apocalypse. And we learn around this time that her father, I believe he's in Wisconsin, he was a doomsday prepper. Some things happened in his life to make him feel really unsettled, and he could kind of see where things were going. So he stockpiled a lot of food and land, guns, ammo, everything that you would need, everything that's going to be important when the poop hits the fan, right? So he's got all that going on. She really resents her dad because he made her learn how to fight, shoot. She had to help him make the compound. So she has all these survival skills, but it sort of made her very, very different from her classmates, and she just resents that part of her past. But the stuff has hit the fan, so now she's back. And who does she find on her dad's compound when she finally gets there? Oh my gosh. The action in this book, she sees Blake. She cannot believe that Blake, her childhood high school enemy, is there. He tormented her, and they have to now fight and train together and go on food and medicine raids. This is just such a good, fast-paced book. And the downside is that some people are going to see that it's a romance and they're not going to pick it up. The romance is a very small aspect of this. It's a very slow burn. It is hate to love. And there's a lot of tension there, and that's wonderful. But there's a lot of zombie fighting in it. And there's a lot of just getting by off the skin of your teeth. And it was just so exciting. Usually I really hate to be in a car, and I did not mind at all. My husband and I would go see different things in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and I was excited to get back in the car and get on that Kindle.
Thanks to Dramamine.
And I obviously gave this book 5 stars. I would tell anyone to pick this up. There's one scene you'll want to skip, which I was fine with. It was just one. It's gruesome, it's fast-paced, it is very interesting. It's also funny. I don't know how this author packs all of that into one book, but I am going to look at her backlog, and the way this ended lets me know clearly there's going to be a second book in this series. So 100% recommend that you pick this one up today. Also on our Maine trip, we went to a thrift store and I found Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This one is about Maggie Holt, and she is the daughter of parents who experienced a haunting. So far, we're switching between Maggie, the daughter, and Ewan. Ewan is the dad. So apparently they buy this beautiful, large estate. It's old though, like it's really old, and it's in the Vermont countryside. And they buy it and it's haunted. So we know just from the first few pages that they flee in 20 days. They buy the house, they move in, and they flee. And there's 20 days between those two things happening. Maggie doesn't remember, but her dad wrote a book about this Bainbury estate. There are a lot of murders that have occurred at Bainbury Hall, and a lot of things that cannot be explained. And her dad wrote a novel, and since she doesn't believe in ghosts, she lived her whole life believing that her dad lied. And so that was a struggle. So there's some psychological things in here. There's some emotional aspects to this book, but mainly she comes back to this house and you're going through all of these things as she's looking back at the different chapters that her dad wrote, and she's experiencing the same things, and she feels like she's going crazy because she 100% does not believe that, say, a record player could turn on by itself, but it is. So what is the explanation for these things? That's what you're finding out here. It's Riley Sager, so you really don't know till the very end what's gonna happen, and it's an absolute hit. I wanted to get back to the Airbnb and get back to the car to read this one for sure. 100% recommend this one. One of the best Riley Sagers that I've read. I'm gonna take a break and eat. This one was available on audiobook immediately on Libby, and it was short. The Year of Less, How I Stopped Shopping, Gave Away My Belongings, and Discovered Life is Worth More Than Anything You Can Buy in a Store. That's by Kate Flanders. I wanted to add to the books I read in September, so I started this tiny little book. It was okay. I think it's like a 2 or 3 star. It really did not apply to me. I thought it was gonna be like a Con Marie method. And I thought, oh, that'll be interesting. She's probably doing something like that. It was a lot of that. She had a lot of dopamine issues. You know, she had a lot of alcohol she was consuming, and she was shopping all of the time. So she restricted herself from those things to try to heal her brain and heal her life. And that was an interesting aspect of it, but it really just didn't apply to me. If those are struggles of yours, then absolutely, I think it's basically a step-by-step plan on how to fix those issues in your life. What I read next is The Other Misses by Mary Kubica. She's a thriller author. This one looks like it's gonna be on Netflix. It says it's a New York Times bestseller. I got it for free in a book box. So this one is about Sadie and Will Faust, and they have just moved from a bustling suburb in Chicago, and she's a doctor in Chicago, to now rural Maine because they inherited a house. And they also now have or a teenager that they're looking after, as well as their own sons, and some murders have happened. There was one point where I thought this author took the lowest hanging fruit and went with it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna complete this, but this is a 1 star. But then I quickly realized this was really an interesting premise, and I really can't even come close to telling you what it is because it will spoil this book. But she did not take the low-hanging fruit. She took the domestic thriller trope and really spun it on its head. I would say this is, 3.5, 4 star. I don't remember what I gave it, but I would recommend this, especially if you're in Northern Virginia and find it in a book box.
I miss those days.
This is the Pines trilogy by Blake Crouch. My husband and I love Blake Crouch. Incursion, Dark Matter, those are very addicting thrillers. They are nothing compared to Pines. 1, 2, and 3 are absolute 5-star perfection. I read a trilogy this month. I was forced to read a trilogy this month. I had no autonomy. I had no control. It started with Pines. I heard about this one from a fellow booktuber, and I went on Goodreads, and sadly I had already read this when it came out in 2012, 2013, something like that, but I had completely forgotten I'd read it. I did not like it at the time. Obviously, I gave it 3 stars. I don't know who I was in 2012, 2013 when I read this, because reading it again this time, this is one of my favorite books that I've ever read in my life. Now, it's about a Secret Service agent, Ethan Burke. He's out of the Seattle field office, and he is tasked with finding a missing agent, his ex-partner, Kate. And she was sent to Wayward Pines, Idaho. He goes there, and on the outskirts of town, a terrible, violent, crazy accident happens with him and the other agent. Ethan wakes up. No one in the town will answer his questions. He can't make calls out. No one has any idea about what's going on, and people are just bizarre. They are truly frustrating. He has no food. He's banged all to heck. Ribs, face. He looks like he's been in the just most horrible accident, and he has no memory of it. No cell phone, no food, no water. He has no money. He has no ID. And nobody cares. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. He realizes immediately things here are not normal. This feels very X-Files, which I adored in the 90s. Adored! And it's part of the reason that I loved the Pacific Northwest. This has that same eerie Pacific Northwest feeling. That Vancouver, it's cold, it's misty, it's green, it's dense. Perfection. Blake Crouch says he wrote this because of Twin Peaks. Apparently the author loved it so much and he wanted it to keep going because it stopped abruptly, or it didn't have a satisfying end, and he wanted to keep it going or create something with that same feeling, and I'm telling you that he did. Where this begins and where it ends, you'll never guess. This is a 5-star, fast-paced thrill ride. If you've been watching short form content, or you have never read books, or something crazy is going on in your life and you just cannot concentrate, this is the book for you, because you will be held captive by this book. When I tell you that I could not put this book down, it caused behavior issues for me. I did not want to take a bath. I resented having to wash and dry my hair because all I wanted to do was get in that bed or sit in that chair and finish this book. The dichotomy here is that I couldn't stand not to be reading this book, and I also had to take breaks. I was forced to take breaks. Too much is happening all at once for the reader to really comprehend emotionally. Everything, literally, the world falls apart around this man, and he has to emerge as the leader that he is. Number 2 in the series is Wayward. There's not a lot I can tell you about this without spoiling the first one. I can't even tell you what truly the genre is. Thriller, crime, suspense, post-apocalyptic, apocalyptic, pre-apocalyptic. There's some romance in here too. There's an electrified fence, like an industrial electrified fence, a giant electrified fence around Wayward Pines. Is that because they're keeping people in or they're keeping something else out? Or is it both? Things fall even worse apart here, and they have just completely gone off the rails in this one, The Last Town. You get some backstory in this that you were hugely craving and really, really needed. Every single point of view is so welcome. When you get to a new chapter and it's a new POV of someone else in the town, you are ready for it. You want to know. You don't care. Any little tiny piece of information you can get about this mystery, you eat it up, you lap it up like a dog. Okay? The Wayward Pines series. Oh my gosh. Stop the video. I don't care. Stop the video now and order these. Find them somewhere, borrow them, get them from the library. Whatever you have to do to read this trilogy, do it. You will not be disappointed unless you're me in 2013. Next, Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This is about Alice and Hayden. So they are both down in nautical, coastal, southern Georgia. They're both journalists. They're meeting to compete over the life story of Margaret something. She's an heiress, and she married an Elvis-like musician. So she's famous. She's at the end of her life, and she wants someone to tell her story, but she can't pick. She doesn't know which journalist she really will trust with her story, so she's trying them both out for a month. They are very much adversaries. This is a romance, by the way, but Emily Henry is also seen as literary fiction. I typically enjoy her books. This one I very much enjoyed. There are sometimes some scenes that you'll need to skip. This one has a protagonist that is very similar to the protagonist of Persuasion by Jane Austen. They're very gentle people. They're very happy people, positive people. Alice is someone that you very much like, and you can't wait to hear what her response is going to be to sarcasm, downright meanness, obstacles in her way, tragedy. You know she's going to have a very positive and interesting way to get through things. And you see that she's done that from her past to now her future. And she's really just a joy to read from. I also liked Hayden, not at first, of course, which you're not meant to. But Hayden is a nice guy too. And he's got a long list of pretty hard things that have happened in his life. So he's pretty walled off and negative. And she really tries to just crack that egg, and she keeps on working at it, and eventually they, fall in love. That's not a spoiler. It's an Emily Henry. You know that's gonna happen. And you're also gonna unravel some mysteries in Margaret's past slowly, because some things don't add up when they go to take her story down and get her details. So there's another little tidbit there that makes this book interesting. But I gave it probably 3.75, 4 stars. That's the 8 books that I read in October. To have that many 5 stars, a 4 5-star book month, maybe 5. Definitely 4 books were 5 stars, which is just unreal. And then to find probably one of my favorite trilogies ever, I mean, that's worth its weight in gold, honestly. I hope you had a wonderful October, and I hope that your November is very blessed. God bless you. Jesus loves you so much. I pray that you're well and that things go really well for you, and that you are good to other people, you're good to yourself, and you find lots of awesome things to read in the month of November. Bye, guys.